All right, what is up, everyone? This is Siro's Vasiri, hanging out with my good friend Tim Buell during the Sweetwater Drum Month, filming some cool content for you guys. Tim is going to talk to us a little bit about some session work stuff, give us some pointers, some tips and tricks for how to approach session work. I'll hand it over to you, Tim. What you got for us?
Yeah, I think one of the things, like we were talking about, you know, what we could cover, what could most quickly and easily, you know, change how you fundamentally sound, like open up, take your playing from kind of the sound a really good drummer, got the coordination, got that thing, to like recording well, no matter what mic is hearing the drums, because that's really the thing. You know, I think a lot of people in the modern day approach recording with like, you put a mic on everything, and then you can adjust the toms, and you can, which is kind of true.
That hits home a little bit, because I do that. I put a mic on everything, but I hear what you're saying, because that's more like you want to have the option to maybe use it later, but it's not a fix it in post kind of thing. It's like,
exactly. I think the misconception is, well, because there's a mic on everything, if you want more toms, you can just boost toms or whatever. But really, any mic that's hearing the capture should kind of more or less sound like a mixed drum set. And that's just going to make everything so much easier. And that usually means, like, the kind of common error points are people playing cymbals like 2 or 3 times louder than they need to. Sometimes like not playing consistently with the snare drum, not like if it's a backbeat heavy thing, people, you know, sometimes the backbeat's there, sometimes it's a little not there. Playing toms really quiet versus how they're playing snare and kick drum. All that stuff is going to make it really hard to have your overheads feel balanced, and then you're going to have to start playing games of, well, I need to boost the snare drum and really kind of carve out this thing, and like it makes it every step of the process just like so much more complicated.
We're basically talking about sort of mixing yourself as you're playing. It's like, rather than having to rely on the mics and being able to adjust the faders and stuff afterwards, you want to make sure that you are actively balancing yourself and listening actively too, making sure that you're, as you go, you're like, oh, is my snare a little bit loud? Am I hitting the hi-hat too hard? Is the balance off here? Making sure you're making those adjustments as you go. And ideally, you got that shit locked down. You can just get right into it as you start playing, and everything's clean from the get-go. Could you maybe show us like a difference? Because this is something this comes up a lot when I do like drum camps and stuff. This is a very common thing that I think a lot of you guys out there might be able to keep in mind. Because you can be a great drummer. Like, you can have chops, you can know all these different grooves and stuff, but if you can dial this thing in, that can lift your entire drumming like twofold. Oh yeah. Just how it's presented. Yeah. But could you give us like an example, maybe with cymbals versus drums being kind of not in line, or maybe snare, how you hit the snare? So, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think I can. It's sometimes it's harder to play.
It's hard.
But
to play off on purpose, so to speak.
Yeah. One of the things that's going to make it really hard if you're like bashing away on hi-hats. Yeah. It's going to bleed in the snare mic, going to make things complicated. So like a lot of times you will hear people. And there, it's way too much hi-hat.
And something you did now too is not like properly closing the hi-hat. That's like a pet peeve for me. You'll see sometimes with my videos, if my feet are in the shot, I'm standing on my toes. I'm like really holding. If the hi-hat's gonna be closed, it's gonna be hella closed. Okay. You know, I do that personally because I want that definition. It's like, this is a closed hi-hat. Let's close it down hard. If it's open, then you find the right spot. Like the halfway thing, I very rarely go there. But this is
that's what you don't want to do.
Yes.
Because I mean, sure, you have a snared mic. There was no snare. I wasn't laying into that backbeat. The hi-hats were loud, so maybe you'll be able to bring the snare drum up. But the more you bring that snare drum mic up to correct for the loud hi-hats, you're actually also turning up your hi-hats.
It becomes a mixing problem. Could you show us also now the same groove, but holding down the hi-hat and playing it so that the balance is nicely, and then tell us about that?
Yeah.
That's a big difference.
Huge difference.
On paper, it's the same groove. The same notes in the same place, but they're being presented in a completely different way.
Yeah, and kind of what goes hand in hand with this is like, you know, so if you record that, if there's an iPhone sitting in the room somewhere, if the overheads are there, if they're room mics, like, that's going to sound like that in all of those mics. You're not relying on some kind of balance afterward or some kind of EQ move or compression move to get it. And when I'm making content, I'll have a camera in the room, and then I'll also have professional mics that capture everything, and you know, oftentimes I'll go through, I'll mix the thing, and then I'll go to, you know, whatever video software you're editing in, you drop the video in, there's just a terrible camera mic.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I'll be surprised pleasantly to listen and go like, oh, that's like
yeah, it sounds
how
fine.
that's how I wanted the drums to sound.
Just a camera audio.
And not just with like the balance of stuff, but also like the tone and how you tune things. Like if you want a dead drum sound, like the Ringo towels on the tom thing, it needs to sound like that.
Yeah.
Before it gets to a microphone.
Yeah, and that's where the kind of active listening comes in. It's like you need to be able to actually analyze your playing as you go, because sometimes you might want a bit more hi-hat. Sometimes you might want to play it a bit more stiff, or like where every note is like equally loud versus doing the like, you know, 1 E and like the 1 and 2 and like that emphasis thing on the hi-hat. Sometimes you don't want that. This is a bit of a different topic, but it all comes down to like mixing yourself as you go.
Mix it yourself, and just be aware that like if it translates well from the raw data of whatever you're recording, how you're hitting drums, how you're tuning them, that's just going to make every single step of the thing so much easier.
All right, cool.
Awesome.
Awesome. That's a little quick tip, a little insider info. It's not really a secret. This is like, if you want to do drum recording sort of semi or fully professionally, you need to have this thing on lock, because it makes a huge difference. Like if someone looking to hire you, they want you to do a good job, and this is a huge part of it. Yeah. But even, like I said, even outside of recording, like just presenting your drumming in a clean way.
Totally.
It comes down to this stuff,
like
balancing
the little details.
Balancing yourself as you go, mixing yourself as it were.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks,
you,
man.
Tim.
Yeah.
This was a blast. Again, this is at Sweetwater Drum Month. We will whip up some more videos here this afternoon, I think. So, good times.
Farewell.
Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.